Hiya, it's Zai again. Oh my goodness, I should I should have started with showing you the cover. Okay, this is our planner cover. This is a planner. I guess not really a planner. It's more like a notebook. This is my recipe notebook, and we've been waiting for these hemlock and oat inserts to show up for some time, which is why, well, it's one of the reasons why our videos are delayed for Planmas. These are Happy Planner metal discs, red ones. I love them. Chef's kiss. And as I mentioned, this is my recipe book. So let's talk about this book. I have a love for cooking, a love-hate relationship. I don't like the cleaning part, but I love the cooking and the eating. And there are lots and lots of recipes that I want to learn how, I don't know if this has, okay. There are lots of recipes that I want to learn how to cook and not just, have a preset of ingredients. I want to have a actual list and ones that are, staple to me, not just opening up a jar of sauce and adding in the spaghetti sauce. No, I want to make it from scratch, a lot of things from scratch. Or I want to have my own signature dishes. Not for everything, I'm not crazy, but I do want to try to eat more homemade meals. And I think partly doing that is going to involve me kind of reaching out and trying other things. So here's a list of some things that I do want to learn how to make. So grilled chicken with veggies. Of course, I can just grill a chicken and do some vegetables, but I want to master these. Sourdough bread. I love sourdough bread, but I've never made fresh bread. I want to make whole wheat bread, flatbread, naan, spaghetti sauce, lemonade. I want to find out that perfect balance. Cobb salad, chicken wings. I want to have a dry rub, and then I also want to have a recipe for ones that have sauce on them. I want to create a ranch dressing. I also love beer battered onion rings. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. It's making me hungry. Fried rice, like a chicken fried rice, barbecue ribs, mac and cheese recipe, baked potato recipe, French toast recipe, breakfast burrito recipe, smoothies, blueberry muffins, pancakes, breakfast potatoes, tortillas, lasagna, whole roasted chicken, chili. I kind of have my chili recipe down, but I can always improve. Tacos, roasted vegetables, and chocolate chip cookies. Now, this isn't everything. These are just some of the things that I love. In my meal planner video, I did talk about, because that was, part of the whole thing that I was waiting on also. And I have been working on that one recently. I'm going to be listing out here my favorite meals. And in this section, I'm going to be using a dot marker to mark down if it was a day that I did not cook from home. So let's say in the morning and the afternoon, I cooked from home, but then at night I ordered something. That's not going to count. If at any time I order something out and I'm not cooking fresh from home, I'm going to mark it off. The other thing in my meal planning book, this is a Hemlock and Oak A5, I believe. I'm going to be tracking recipes that I want to try from throughout the world. Now, my goal is to have at least 4 recipes that I try, and then I would just mark off what day I tried that recipe. And I used ChatGPT. I said, give me 55 random countries. And these are the countries that it gave me. It gave me Peru, Norway, Japan, Kenya, Portugal, Thailand, Chile, Morocco, Canada, on and on and on and on. And here are the other countries over here on the back. So my goal is to try at least one recipe from each of these countries in 2026. And I have all of this time to do it. I have 55 here, and you're probably thinking, why do you have 55 if you're only doing 4? The goal is to do 4, but let's say I get really, excited about a recipe from a certain country, or something else happens and I want to do more. I'm just giving myself the leeway here to choose from, if I had chosen 48 and those one of those 48 wasn't to, my liking, or I just wasn't in the mood to cook from that country, then at least I have a little wiggle room. And if I do 5 one month, look at me doing 5. So I'm going to be writing down recipes from throughout the world here. And I'm going to be listing here my favorite meals of the day. So that's why I have this recipe book, to write down recipes. Now, as you can notice here, a lot of these things tend to be more American, but there are some things that are from other countries as well. Now, in this book, we have classic size hemlock and oak, just regular grid paper. Now, I know that Happy Planner has their recipe pages, and I have a lot of those pages. But if I'm going to be honest, they have a lot of color on them, and I think that this will work better. If at some point this is not working, I'll switch over to the Happy Planner ones, because I have tons and tons of those. But for the moment, I'm thinking this will work for me. I can be very creative with this. I can add in the photos because it is on a disc-bound system. The Happy Planner is too. But I don't like how there are certain sections in the Happy Planner ones that I'm really not going to use. So this one I can be more creative with. Okay, so I got a bunch of these. Look at all these recipes I'm going to be making. Just imagine, it's going to be full. Now this section back here is a meal planning Happy Planner book, I guess, divider. And over here, oh, looky, what has she got here? This paper fuzz. Okay, I have listed out every single country and some territories and some places that you may not consider countries. I have them all listed out here. Now, this is using the new version, the new horizontal of the Happy Planner. I did have some extras, and I was like, well, what am I going to do with those pages? I should use them. Well, this is how I'm using them. I have listed out every single country, you can see, and they're in alphabetical order. And I went through ChatGPT or Gemini, and I asked them, what is a recipe or dish or meal specific to that country? So I would, type in Afghanistan, and then these were the meals that it gave me. And of course, there are some meals and dishes that kind of blend together because, of course, people move around, migration, yada, 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 and they can vary from country to country. So you may see some repeats, but I'm going to be specifically trying to do ones from those countries. Now, here, you'll also see at the bottom, in this section, I'm going to try to do little photos of my favorite meals from those countries. So for example, on this page, what was my favorite meal out of these ones that I tried? And then I'll put the photos down here, and then a sticker on any of the recipes that I loved. And if I didn't like them, I'm going to put up that. Okay, so over here we have Andorra all the way to Austria. And this was also a way for me to use up all of these little sticky notes that I have. Now, on the other page, there were only those three countries. Over here, there's, of course, 7. So I'm going to be, having to pick and choose. But you can see that there are so many different recipes now that I was interested in. One of the things about me is you're not going to find, seafood. Not a lot of seafood. There's maybe hardly any. Very close to none. If there is seafood, it's very rare, maybe 1 or 2 recipes. And there are certain foods that I know that I don't like, certain ingredients I don't like. So what I did was I told ChatGPT, don't give me any seafood, don't give me any eggplants, nothing with mustard, nothing with all of these specific requirements. And you may be like, hey, I'm from Australia and I know that there's this, and this, and it's amazing. But if it's an ingredient that I don't particularly like, I'm kind of picky, then I definitely didn't put it on the list. And the reason being because, of course, I know my preferences. That's not to say I would never try it if I went to that country, because I believe that making food at home is going to taste different than how it would taste in that country. It typically does. But going back to the book over here that I just put away, we saw that ChatGPT did it. I didn't choose. They chose some of these countries that are here in the beginning. So, for example, Australia. So these are all of the different options I can choose. Obviously, I'm only going to choose one. There are several of them here, but it could, each country has a certain or different amount. For example, Austria only had 2 recipes that ChatGPT gave me that I was interested in, but there's hundreds of recipes from those countries. But those are the 2 that it gave me. I asked it for 100 different ones, and out of the 100 it gave me, those are the 2 that I was interested in. And you will see that some countries have more recipes than others do, and that's just because I'm picky. Yeah, girl, picky. And I'm hoping that I can find these recipes either through searching through ChatGPT or Google or, using YouTube. If you have any suggestions for recipes from these specific countries for 2026 that I could cook, if you're from one of these countries, or you know a really good recipe or dish or meal from these countries, don't keep it to yourself. Share. Or if there's another website that you know where to get recipes from, please let me know. And of course, you will be following me along. I will be having updates on this book throughout 2026. So here you can see that chicken curry was the only one that I chose from Bangladesh. But yeah, I have a full list of all. It took a long time, trust me. And some of them I haven't finished. I do have some pages here that I have not completely filled out all of the recipes for. So what I did was, I got to like chili, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. So tired of looking at recipes. And then how do you fix that? How do you make it more interesting for yourself? You start working from the back. So I started working from Zimbabwe forward. So I stopped at chili. China's got so much. That's probably why I stopped, because there's just so much. And then I started going this way. So you can see there's like Vatican City, Venezuela, Vietnam. It just, the US has so many. And I just started going forward from there. But then there's all of these in the middle that I still haven't filled out. But I've got time, and this isn't like, oh my gosh, I had to finish it all in 2026. Oh my gosh. No, this is a life thing. This is something I want to continue to practice, continue to learn, to hone my skills. Like Peru. I don't have anything here for Peru. There's nothing. But that's not because there's not wonderful recipes. It's because I haven't done the research. I have to put in the work. And Peru was the first one it gave me. Philippines. I definitely don't have, there's the Philippines right there. I don't have anything written down for them. But there are other countries on this list, like Vietnam. We had just said Vietnam. That it did give me, as one of the options. Okay, what is my option? Spring rolls. So I guess next year I'm learning to make spring rolls if I choose Vietnam. Now, of course, as I mentioned, there are extra ones in here. So that means I don't have to do spring rolls, but your girl loves some spring rolls. I lived in Vietnam for a while, so that's going to be one of my options. I'm more likely to do spring rolls than something that's more difficult, because there's also a possibility that some of these items are going to require ingredients that I'm going to either have to get from a specialty market, or maybe purchase the items from overseas, the ingredients, and then wait for them to be delivered to me. That is a very high possibility. So I may be, working on things in, a recipe from Vietnam, but I might be waiting like a month or more for a spice to come in from Turkey. Who knows? I don't know. But I really do hope that you will join me as I continue to fill out this book and create the recipes. And I hope that I find so many that I love. And I do one day hope to visit all of these amazing countries and to try the food there from the locals. And I'm just so excited. And like I mentioned, if you have any suggestions of recipes that I would be interested in trying, or if you know where I can find some, please leave it in the comments. And if you also have a recipe book or recipe planner, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to watch the video. And with that, I'll see you later. Bye, friends.